Yay. I like SkeptiCamp. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I chose a very interesting, I think, presentation for today on a gentleman by the name of Robert Lancaster. He's one of my role models, I have to say. Way back in January 2006 already, I flew to Las Vegas to attend a conference held by the James Randi Educational Foundation. If you've never heard of it, it's the JREF. You know, that conference and the ideas and the people that I became acquainted with at that meeting really have changed my life significantly. Before that, I was an atheist, but it really didn't matter to me. I was a non-believer and really didn't give a hoot about religion. I wasn't a real skeptic. I wasn't a hardcore believer in what Randi would call woo, okay, what James Randi would consider, but I had my tarot cards read more than once. I believed in ghosts, possibly, in reincarnation. I followed my horoscope, things like that. I guess I always liked the idea of believing more than anything else. So I really wasn't a hardcore believer in woo. But the main conference that weekend was Friday and Saturday, and then we ended up staying for the papers Sunday morning. They had a public call for papers at that time. And not everybody stayed for that. There was maybe about 40, 50 people in the audience. And I feel really privileged to have been there that Sunday morning because I was there to hear Robert Lancaster tell his story. And the story that he told for me was truly unforgettable. Robert was a mountain of a man. I mean, he was tall and imposing with a big gray beard and bushy eyebrows. You know, I thought he could have been a biker or a tradesman or something. Turns out he was a computer programmer from California. Very nice guy, very sweet. I first saw him when he stopped up to the podium that morning, and he delivered his paper called Stopping Kaz, One Skeptic's Experience Using the Internet to Debunk a Religious Con Artist. By the time he finished delivering that paper, people were cheering. For him, it all started back in 2004. He went to visit his mom, and he heard about a woman by the name of Kaz DeMille Jacobson, who had been a guest speaker at his mother's church. The congregation at his mom's church, her and her friends, they'd all been impressed by what they called her inspiring life story. But to Robert, as he started writing about it, you know, his baloney detector started going off. Okay, some of her claims are incredible, really. She claimed, okay, she was Kaz DeMille Jacobson, but she was also known by a whole bunch of other aliases that Robert started finding out. She also claimed that she was a doctor, that she was a granddaughter of Cecil B. DeMille, that famous film director, that she'd been an official spiritual advisor to George W. Bush and to Bill Clinton before him. She traveled with the president and family kind of thing. She owned a company that was worth over 170 million, or billion, I don't know, million, and it was headquartered in the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Okay, now it gets better, it gets better. She said she was in the North Tower of the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001, the day the towers fell, that she had a miraculous escape and recovery, but she was badly injured after she escaped from that elevator shaft and they walked down 90 flights of stairs or whatever it was. She was in a coma for a few weeks. While she was in a coma, she went to heaven, met Jesus. He gave her a rock. I guess that's what Jesus gives you when you show up there. And she was miraculously healed of those life-threatening wounds and of leukemia, by the way, just as an aside, I guess a bonus. And people at these churches believed her. Some of them had doubts, but overall they believed her because, well, they were swayed by several factors. Some of them, she'd spoken at other churches. She was probably okay. Some people said, well, I didn't think anybody would lie about those kinds of things. Another factor was that she didn't charge any money. Okay. Oh, I got back, never mind. She didn't charge any money, but when Robert asked if Kaz accepted donations, his mother said, well, of course, we took up a love donation for her. So this is how she was making her living. She was a typical scam artist. Robert found at the time that going online and looking, though, really didn't help because there wasn't very much about her. There was maybe two mentions of her on the internet. And after he discussed his doubts with other people, he found that they were also skeptical. But when they started to search too, there wasn't anything. There wasn't anything disproving her claims or proving them. Like maybe if you found a list of 9/11 survivors or presidential advisors, anything that you think somebody of her stature would be in the news, would be online somewhere. So the first thing that he did was create a website. Now, it's not pretty. It's still up there. It's www.stopcas.com. And he set out to confirm or deny her claims. Now, some are pretty easy. And at the time, Robert was still a member of the JREF. He visited the forum there, so he started asking his people there, hey, you've got any ideas? Somebody actually put him in touch. He got an email address for one of the members of the DeMille family. Aha, okay. From there on, it wasn't too hard getting answers. And I'll quote the answer from the DeMille family. It was pretty clear. Robert said, I contacted 3 separate descendants of Cecil B. DeMille. The first 2, one of whom Kaz sometimes claims to be her half-sister, had never heard of the woman. The third was aware of Kaz and some of her claims, but quite emphatically said, she is no way related to our family, and any stories she tells about our relationship with the family are fabricated. So I went from there. He put the website up there. As more people saw it, more information started coming in. When I first sat down, and after a few months after I came back, I started reading through the whole website. What impressed me the most was how Robert handled all of these claims. He had such patience. He set out to find everything he could about Kaz, but he never came right out and said she was a liar. He never called her names, never, he always gave her the benefit of the doubt. What he did was organize what she claimed, and he organized the questions that arose from that for him, and invited people to come and share their ideas and their opinions and whatever material that they had. He listed all his sources. He, even when he has transcribed something from original paper and he's transcribed it through an OCR, an optical character reader, he notes that on the website. He notes all the sources for everything. And he's got a page on there where he actually also lists all the changes to the website in order, so you know exactly what he's changed and when, what he's added. Some of the first things that he got, the information started adding up. First, he got an email from a man who had a CD copy of Kaz speaking at a church in Colorado. And the guy said, do you want a copy? And of course, Robert said, sure. Another person had a cassette tape of another presentation, and so on. So the information started coming in. After a few months, the real smoking gun, in to Robert's opinion, was when he found out where Kaz really was on 9/11. And it wasn't in New York City, in the World Trade Center. She was thousands of miles away in California watching the same events on TV as everyone else. Because Robert was contacted by the man who owned the mobile home where she was staying at the time. She was crashing with him for a couple of months. She left stuff on his computer. There were emails and letters that she wrote on his computer during that November, December. So, hey, there was no doubt that she was not in New York. Now the media had started to find the site. And they started contacting Robert. A reporter from the Burbank Leader newspaper did a news story on her entitled "A Survival Story Now in Doubt." So the media loved the story. So this was about 2004, 2005. By the time Robert gave that presentation at TAM in January 29th, 2006, Kaz had left the country. She wasn't originally from the States. She was from the New Zealand, Australia area, and she'd gone back there. So thankfully for the internet, though, media there, when she started pulling her same stuff there, contacted Robert in the States and started asking about her. They did some stories on her, and her appearances in New Zealand were canceled. So that was a triumph for Robert. Sadly, though, a leopard really doesn't change its spots. And he may have slowed her down, but he didn't really stop her. In 2008, apparently, she was still claiming to be a doctor, but now she had replaced her 9/11 story with one about the injuries she sustained while being attacked while operating on war casualties in Rwanda. Yeah. She claims she's very close friends with the Dalai Lama and Nelson Mandela now, yeah. And in 2008, she was living in the Yarra Valley on the outskirts of Melbourne, Australia, and going by the name Dr. Caroline Evans. So, yeah, anybody in Australia, she's not a doctor. So, yeah. But she was gone from the States, and by this point, Robert was being lauded as a hero. This was great news that she had left. So the JREF forum was saying, okay, Robert, what's your next target here? You've got Kaz, she's left, so what are you going to focus on now? Ta-da! November 27th, 2006. StopSylvia.com. He chose Sylvia Brown as his next target. That year was amazing and exciting. She was a new, higher profile target. Of course, she didn't hesitate to litigate and start the threats of taking the website down, things like that. His approach really took a bite out of her reputation. And of course, though, over the last decade or so, she's made her own hubris has led to her downfall, seriously. But really not. People still believe her. What you'll find if you look at the Stop Sylvia website, and it's still, again, running today, so many accounts of people sending in emails and saying, she was a fake, I was disappointed, she charged me $700, or actual taped encounters from talk shows and things like that where she was wrong. One good example, back in 2003, was an episode of Montel Williams. Sean Hornbeck's parents, Pam and Craig Akers, asked for Sylvia's help in locating their missing son. This was Sean Hornbeck. Brown told them that Sean was dead. But on January 12, 2007, 15-year-old Sean was found alive after having been missing for 4 years. So because of her, they changed the search for the boy and everything. So that made a terrible impact on those people's lives. That update and that revelation led to Anderson Cooper of CNN. He ran an episode on Brown called Dead Wrong. It appeared on CNN 360. By the time of that story, that was the peak. That was the skeptical investigation high for Robert. He, along with James Randi, were interviewed for that special, and it just so happened it was actually at another TAM. They had to leave the meeting that weekend and get interviewed at a studio in Vegas. So we're sitting there in the audience of TAM going, this is amazing. They're live on CNN now. Here was the broadcast. We were applauding and cheering. It was wonderful. Sadly, though, Robert has been unable to continue his skeptical attack. The last changes to the Stop Sylvia site were made July 18th, 2008. Right after that, Robert Lancaster suffered a stroke. Thankfully, his wife Susan got him quick medical care, which is really nice. Even then, okay, he wasn't lacking a sense of humor about it. He wrote afterwards, when I was in the ambulance being taken from our home to the hospital, one of my first thoughts was, I wonder how long it'll take Sylvia Brown to claim that she predicted this. Brown already had a record of that sort of behavior. She'd claimed that she had predicted James Randi's heart bypass surgery. Robert's especially memorable to me for several reasons. He truly is a gentleman and a man of integrity. I really appreciate how he concluded that original paper. He actually came back from the stroke. He recovered enough to receive a Citizens Award from the JREF at TAM 7 for his work. But imagine that at the end of that first paper, here's this big guy standing up there, and he concluded the paper with, and I'm going to quote, he says, there's a moral to this story. Actually, there are two. The first is, don't mess with my mom. But there is another, which has been pointed out to me by several members of the JREF message forum. As trite as it may sound, that moral is one skeptic can make a difference. That is, I believe, that's the message that I think we can all take to heart. Each of us can make a change or make a difference, and together we can make lasting change. Thank you. Did I rush through that? Okay, good. Now hands stop shaking. Anyone have any questions about this at all? Yes, Jim.
It's just a comment. I think, and I could be mistaken, but I think that the Stop Sylvia site was also a StopSylviaBrown.com.
Yes, you bet.
Because at one point, an actual psychic took over the domain because it lapsed during the stroke.
Yeah, he was still recovering.
The psychic took over the domain and then started making money off of it.
Yeah. Fortunately, though, he had gotten the other domain because it had lapsed while he was sick. He got StopSylvia.com. So his friends from the JREF actually took the website content and moved it over to the new domain and set it up for him. So that's great. He's still around. He's still on. Actually, I found him on Facebook of all places. He's still, I don't think he's doing very much in the work in the skeptical community now. He's more enjoying his family and his grandkids. I think he married his girlfriend Susan back in 2009. I think. Yeah. Any other questions? Anybody read the paper lately? Guess who's coming here? October 20. Yeah. Yes. Oh. I don't know. Just something about her name or her or claws or whatever. It just makes me go every time I think about her.
So Sylvia Brown's coming to town when?
October 26th or the 30th. I can't remember now.
No, maybe we'll have to hand out pamphlets again.
That's what I'm thinking. If you guys have one set up already, I'll be there with you, and I'll be outside that venue and saying, you know, this is what she's all about. These are what cold readings are. This is what she does. Yeah. Okay? I like it.